Welcome to Working Forward Conversations, a special live, unfiltered episode hosted inside the PFN community where we explore bold, working forward ideas we adopt and use here at PeopleForward Network. Enjoy. All right, here we are. We are back with another Working Forward conversation with Nikki, Lewallen, and Gregory, our founder and Chief Meaningful Work Officer at PeopleForward Network. Nikki, how you doing?
Good. And I'm so glad to be here with our Chief Strategy Officer of PeopleForward Network, Jason Cochran. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Well, I'll tell you what, we got to be on our toes, don't we? Feels like every week we've got an awesome new topic that we love sharing with the community of things that we're learning as we grow, because it feels like things are just changing at warp speed every week if you're staying dialed into the AI wave of different ways that AI is being used and applied. And so today, what we wanted to do is we really wanted to dig into this topic of balancing high human touch and this rapid push for automation of so much of different parts of work, and just kind of unpack that a little bit in terms of how we're thinking about it at PeopleForward Network. And so, Nikki, let's kick off this way. What are some of the things that have been kind of top of mind for you? Obviously, with us being a results and relationship-based business, what are some things that you've been guiding us through and been thinking about of what do we need to think about as we balance automating things that we can automate versus what are the things that we should keep human touch? What are some things you've been thinking about around that?
I think you just said the word balance, and I think that that's a really important place to start because we both agree, Jason, you and I, our way of being, but our culture at PFN and what we bring to the table is human connection. It's relationships, right? And relationships are human connection. And that there's a balance between using technology or manual ways. And we never want people to be like, oh, they're not there anymore. Like it's not a person. So we are designing systems where we can use both, but it's very relational. Even when it is technology, it feels very relational and we're not replacing the human. And so I think this balance is really important to just reiterate. And then I think, talking about, okay, how do you define in our company or your company, what is automation to you? What is your relationship focus? We have a way of saying it. It's like high touch. Like we want to be high touch, relational. High touch is the emphasis. We use automation and technology, but we always wanted to feel high touch. So defining what the balance is for you and what's your verbiage for that, I think that's really important. What would you add there around the core and like kind of setting the stage?
Absolutely. Well, I think the first thing is kind of interesting to be having this conversation because who would have thought we'd be talking about this even just like a year or two ago, right? But here we are with how much generative AI, and now that we're pushing closer to artificial general intelligence capabilities, it's now becoming a real discussion. Google just launched what they call their A to A protocol, which is now going to allow agents that you create, AI agents in your business, to communicate and work with and collaborate agents and other businesses. And so this whole piece of like thinking through human touch in automation is so important because of those things. One more thing around McKinsey, and then want to dig into some of the ways that we're thinking about this, some things we're doing, especially around community of how we're balancing it. But McKinsey released something recently that just really kind of caught me off guard in regards to how quickly automation is happening. And it was this. They said that by 2030, activities that account for up to 30% of hours currently worked across the entire US economy will be automated. I mean, that just blows my mind. And so moving from kind of like that macro level, like this decade, like roughly a third of like conceptual work hours will be automated across the US economy. Let's kind of at a micro level now dig into what does this mean for us at PeopleForward Network, as you were saying. One of the things that we've really tried to be cautious about is with our community. We just recently launched our community, and the things that we have heard loud and clear from so many of our leaders and members of the community as to why they joined and why they love it, especially compared to LinkedIn, is it's authentic. It's real. It's real humans pausing, creating very thoughtful dialogue, thoughtful posts, thoughtful ways to connect with one another, not playing algorithm games, not having your DM slammed with automated sales pitches of people that you don't know trying to connect with you, but that it's a real place to connect. It almost kind of feels like Cheers. Nikki, I don't know if you're a fan of Cheers, but kind of want to go where everybody knows your name kind of thing. And it's been really neat to hear from leaders about that. And that just reiterated to us, we really thought there was a need for that type of a space for people forward leaders. And it has just been confirmed from what we've heard from him out of the gate. So what that has meant is we've tried to be really diligent and design thoughtful activities, thoughtful ways to engage with one another without leaning too heavily into a lot of automations, triggers, and AI. Now, that's not to say we're not trying some things.
Yeah.
Members will probably notice sometimes there may be DMs that come out from me that'll remind them about an upcoming event or something like that. But we're trying to make sure we're balancing the word that you used of being smart, of how we lean into using some of the automations and tools we have, but also maintaining the integrity and the authenticity of the community around that human connection standpoint.
Yeah. Well, you brought up this statistic that's shockingly like, wow, the future, and it's coming so fast. And that point about just the rapid change that's coming. And we have to jump on this train or we will get left behind. Like that is a for sure statement, but it's just really coming fast. And I started with like, these foundational building blocks. And as I was starting to even go beyond that for like under the foundation, if you will, I'm like, but what is our belief about it? Our way? Like you as a company and a leader, you have a belief in a way about this. Like for us, our belief in our way is we are here for human connection, very much focused on the relationships. But then as I just pulled up our website to then connect the dot on that, our core values, the top is relationships for a reason. That's like in a circle. And so relationships are our North Star. These other core values, excellence, inspiration, innovation, results, and accountability. That's why we're even doing any of this, right? Like, because that's our, like, relationships are our North Star, but these are our core values. And when you look at getting results, innovation, inspiration, so much of what we have at our fingertips with technology and AI helps us get that, right? And then even more, our team, Jason, you're going to love this one. When you were sharing that a minute ago, I was like, this is getting us to our 4-day work week and even faster, right? Like we have our 4-day work week. And that's one of our goals as a team. Like we are working towards that goal. We're at a 4.5-day work week now, but actually I think it'll probably happen this year now that we're like talking this through. So going way deeper beyond like, I need to solve the problem of technology in my business, like an AI, it's really starting with under the dirt, right? And those roots are your core values and who you are. And then at the surface are your building blocks, which is like your belief about it. And, for us, like high touch mixed with automation, and a learning culture around it. That's like right above the dirt. And then you start to look at, okay, what are our systems or our framework, right? Okay. So under high touch, things like high touch for first impressions. Like we don't want an automated bot doing that. When things are a challenge, when there's conflict, people, right? Like we want them to be able to reach someone who wants to call something and press 7 for this, press 2 for this. But no, like we want to be able to solve those issues in a human way. We want to be able to like recognize people. I'm going to share a video like of me sharing and talking about this person particularly, things like that. And then automation, it's like, okay, where would we automate where high touch isn't really needed as much? Data, meeting scheduling, content creation, like one podcast creates a ton of content because of the technology we have. So really then understanding what are our systems and framework underneath what we believe in our key priorities. And those are just some of them.
Those are spot on. I love those examples. And those are very real for us. And you could ask any person on our team and they'd be able to say those too. Like these are the ways where we've set up these guardrails, these parameters, or this is the stuff we'll automate, but this is the stuff that we understand as a group, part of our culture code and our values that you referenced, Nikki, that we understand are uniquely human and will always be that way. It reminds me of something that Bill Kirst, who is a member of our community, he mentioned several times. And that is just because AI can do something doesn't mean that it should. And that has rung true in my head a lot. And especially more as we continue to move forward and we innovate and we use AI more, we're also being very thoughtful, as you put it, about the foundational levels, even digging into the dirt of thinking about that question. And like, there's going to be things that we don't let AI touch in our business that are super important with how we work with other people. The other thing too, from another community member, Vince Freeman, good friend of yours and mine both, that he said, the AI transformation is really about human transformation. And what that made me think of is when you were just sharing those things about how we're transforming is many times if we take a step back and we think about COVID and we think about how remote work kind of came out of COVID, how many times did you hear a discussion that was talking about organizations struggling with remote work? But it's not remote work's fault. It's you don't have the structures, the things in place to support people to thrive in remote work, to thrive in change. And what's interesting about that to me, Nikki, is as you were sharing those things, here we are again now, 4 to 5 years later. Now the major change and disruption we're all going through is artificial intelligence. And it's like, look, same thing again, rinse and repeat. If you're going through major change, it's about human transformation. Don't blame remote work in 2020. That wasn't the problem. You need to update the way you're doing things to support your people. Same thing here when it comes to artificial intelligence. And that was a major connection that between what you just shared and what Vince Freeman has mentioned many times is kind of like we need to slow down here. Let's get our eggs, I was about to say our eggs in a row, eggs in a basket, get our ducks in a row. We got eggs and ducks all over the place with Easter time, but get all those things in place first. Take your time with your team, have conversations about it, build structure around it while you're also innovating at the same time. That'll help everyone feel more comfortable, see the vision, but also help understand where those guardrails are, where you're saying, these are those uniquely human touch point pieces of our business that will always be that way.
Well, since we're shouting people out in our community, these great leaders that we have, that exact phrase that you said, it is digital transformation is human transformation. I learned that from Gregory. That was the topic of our podcast episode.
That's awesome.
Greg and Vince, long lost bros, like they need to be besties. But it's such a powerful, true statement, and it applies in all things, right? Earlier, I did a little research to prep for this conversation today, and here were some considerations that I pulled from AI when I was talking to it this morning. So when we, as a team, we set like a standard that supports our North Star. So our core value of relationships is our top core value. So our team, one like consideration that we all can wrap around as we are balancing this, if you will, is where does the human touch matter most? So in this, what we're working on, events in our community, or this new podcast series, or follow-up cadence of drip marketing, I don't know. Where does the human touch matter most? Prioritize that and then figure out how technology supports that, right? I also saw this key takeaway in here around automate for scale, personalize for trust.
Oh, that's good.
That's so good. Because all of us, on our team, our number one culture code. So we have our culture code that supports our core values, and this is our behaviors, how we show up that supports these things. Our number one culture code is live work-life integration. And then I started to steal from Duck Creek Technologies and saying, we are a flexible first organization. That's the number one thing that we prioritize. We want our people to live whole lives and, have a flexible work life to be able to do all the things. And, you look at, okay, automate for scale, personalize for trust. We are automating for scale because we want to live flexible lives, but we are not going to jeopardize where the human touch matters most to personalize things for trust and relationship. As with anything, digital transformation is human transformation, always across all the things. Your core values, who you are, is the under the dirt stuff. It's the roots that for anything is going to guide how you show up. And the way I'm sharing this and our verbiage can't be exactly yours for whoever's listening. You take it and apply it to your under the dirt stuff, right? I think that's really important.
I think it is too. And I don't know about you, Nikki, but I feel like my signal and my detection for being able to tell what is AI generated content is improving over time. I know the AI is getting better at things, but a lot of times if I'm on LinkedIn or something and like see a post, I feel like I'm starting to get a better handle on the ones that are the person took the time, they're pouring their heart out, they're sharing a lot of personal details, and the ones that are just very quick, like, chat GPT-ish. I pulled this directly from chat GPT kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just a good reminder for everyone, like absolutely be using those tools, help spark ideas, help pull together ideas around it. But ultimately you're in that driver's seat. And I think the reason that the PFN community, we've heard from so many leaders that they love the authenticity there is they know that it's genuine, authentic human content that's going in there every time that they go in and see it. That we have spaces that have to do with pets, showing off your pets, talking about how much they mean, share a laugh, post something that's making you laugh today, that kind of stuff. And I can't imagine that we'll ever get to a point where AI can totally do those things, or we'll be aware that AI is trying to do it. And we'll fall back more into, nope, I want to look for more of the stuff that I know is authentically human, that's coming from people that care about those things, that's pouring their heart out to connect with
Yeah.
other people. And I think that's going to be really important too. And what I'd be curious to hear from also from your perspective, Nikki, is I would also think that that's continuing to be really important when we think about the future of sales operations in business. There are some companies switching over to changing out like sales development representatives to AI bots that are doing a lot of that stuff. But I can't help but wonder if the organizations that are going to continue to grow and be successful with sales are the ones that maintain more of that human touch of building a relationship, of helping make people make progress instead of turning it into an automated machine that's a volume play. What's your
Totally.
take on that?
Oh, strong. My take is very strong. That if you look back old school ways, pre AI and all of the automations and technology, here's the comparison. You have a whole team of sales development reps or professionals sitting in a room with scripts. The scripts are not authentic to them. Everyone's saying the same thing. And on the other end, you feel it. And on the board, not the only, the most of the calls that are getting booked don't end up showing up, right? There's this I mean, the hit rate on that is terrible anyway. The amount of money that we spend, and you can't feel real meaningful in your job when it's just like script based. It's just not truly human connection. That's the old school version of that I've never liked. I've gone in to solve those problems, and I don't feel like the sales development professional doesn't feel meaning. The person on the other end doesn't feel connected to, like, whatever, right? And it's check the box. And this new way just deepens that. It's like 10x, right? And then you're not getting people to actually show up because there's no actual relationship there. It's like, who was it that called me last week? Yeah, well, they either know or they don't know that was a made up bot anyway. Like, which to be fair, I know some companies that are doing that really, really well with these AI bots that do feel like they have a relationship when someone's calling in for like customer service stuff. There's some of that done well. So I don't want to poke on that because there's some of my friends at the companies. But the whole emphasis is sales is a relationship game, right? And true sales that last for a long time, sustainable, repeatable, successful sales are built on relationships. That's it. I mean, that's just the truth. And without the relationship, you're just commoditized, or there's nothing there that's really the roots, if you will. So
I love that. And we try to, our best to absolutely live that out in everything that we do, like you said, with relationships being our top value, the one that is so important, in making thoughtful connections and things like that. And one of the things we can promise everyone is we're going to continue doing that the old school way of us reaching out to you and doing that, because it's so important to have those connections and to build that trust. A few other takeaways as we get ready to wrap up today, Nikki, some things that I heard from you. Efficiency doesn't have to come at the cost of empathy. We also need to be really intentional about where humans shine. So think about those things that are really important that you need to maintain that'll be done by humans on your team. And then designing workflows to create space for connection, not removing it. And so just thinking about those thoughtful connections. And so absolutely, there is a balance. You're probably not going to hit it exactly right out of the gate. It's going to take some experimenting, some testing, and then dialing it in. That's what we're doing as well. We'll continue to learn, especially with our community, of the things that we can help automate that improves the user experience, but the things that we continue to maintain that are human as well. And it just be comfortable with it. Like you said, there's no hiding from this. The other option is not to completely disregard automation. If you do that, you are going to be left behind. So you've got to be testing it, but you've also got to be very thoughtful about the guardrails of what's going to maintain human touch and relationship moving forward too. Nikki, as we get ready to kick off, any closing comments that you want to leave the listeners with today?
Prioritize this. It's really important. And without having team conversations about it and helping everybody on the team get on the same page, it could really be a shit show. If you don't know your North Star with anything, so many of these things are like, it's like this blueprint for life of like, you got to have these things and you got to have a team that understands the why of the company, the core values, our culture code, how we live it out, to then help them take ownership on how they show up using the tools of today, and you got to have a lot of those conversations and you got to prioritize it. Or like I said, it just becomes a mess because, you're reading something here or looking at this quick thing and it's just coming at you so fast and all. Pretty soon you could take the automation learnings of this morning's podcast that somebody on the team learned, and now it's all automated and they're not getting that high touch, right? So it's a really important thing to prioritize and make sure you keep talking about it. Like, what is it? You have to say things 7 times for somebody to hear it. Do it 10 and just keep at it.
I love it. And to your point, stuff's moving so fast now that it can accelerate bad stuff. So if you just start in and you start tinkering with stuff without being thoughtful about it ahead of time, you might incidentally upset some customers or do some things before giving it enough thought before you start practicing some of those things.
Totally.
Nikki, thanks so much. This was really insightful for our listeners today. Everybody, take care. We'll see you. Thanks for being part of this special Working Forward conversation. Want to join us live next time? Head over to bit.ly/PFN Community to join our PFN community and become part of the conversation that's driving what's next in work and leadership. See you there.